we are in the middle of the NFL playoffs, the college football playoffs, but we are just starting the process of beginning to build out our 2025 Dynasty rosters. And so today I am bringing you a video talking all about how you can dominate the 2025 offseason for your Dynasty fantasy football teams. If you like Dynasty fantasy football, hit a subscribe, hit a like button. We are going to be providing Dynasty content all offseason long, so I'm super pumped to be talking some Dynasty. Number one, when we start to look at our overall teams, know the direction of your team and be honest. When we're talking through your overall team in the Dynasty landscape, it's important to know that there's two buckets of teams. There are contenders and then there's pretenders. And if you're a pretender, that means you should probably get rid of all old assets and start to figure out how you're going to retool and get into this rebuild. And honestly, everybody at this point in the offseason loves to think that they're about to be competing for a championship in 2025. It doesn't matter if you just won. It doesn't matter if you were just the last team last year and you have a ton of picks going into this offseason. You're always thinking that you have a chance to make it big. But the key that's going to help you win more Dynasty fantasy football championships than anything is just to be honest with your roster. If your roster is super old with veterans, like let's say you have a team of Alvin Kamara, Mike Evans, and Cooper Kupp, it's probably going to be a time to say maybe it's time to, it was great going after the glory for a few years. Maybe it's time for us to retool, rebuild, get some younger assets so we can start to fight and live for another day. If you have an up-and-coming team, maybe you have a team where you got Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs as your two stud running backs. If it's super flex, maybe you got lucky and got a guy like a Jaden Daniels and you got Puka Nacua and you just need some more pieces on the fringe to help make that push, then that's 100% a team where we'll be looking to adding some more competitive assets. But the one thing that you need to do to have a good roster is to be honest with your overall direction. Number two, as we are maneuvering in this time, it's so important to know your league mates, but more importantly, to know how their teams are constructed. Because as we start to go into these trade discussions that we'll talk a little bit about later, you want to make sure that you know their strengths and their weaknesses, because your ability to then put the players that you're looking at, whether you know that you need a running back, and so you go to the team that has a ton of running backs and you have other pieces that might interest them, you can go steal one of the running backs from that team. I think the one thing that always sucks, and I feel like in conversations and in trade discussions, is always around, hey, I really want said player, but that's a vital piece to said player's team. He's not going to be willing to give that player up for even any sort of a value because it's an important asset, whether it's a running back, whether it's a wide receiver, whether it's a tight end, a quarterback, you name it. So just being able to know your league mates' teams and their overall construction, and as well as kind of where their direction of their team is headed. I think that's super important as well. Number three, we need to know the Dynasty calendar and how to exploit it. So right now, like we said, we are in the playoffs. So what are some things that can happen in the playoffs that can absolutely affect Dynasty level values? The first part is injuries. As all these playoff teams, if there's a significant injury like an ACL, an Achilles, anything like that can definitely hurt some of the current competitive teams' overall players. Now, I'm not risking for injuries. I'm not trying to talk like that, but I do want to kind of admit that we do have to kind of put that in consideration. But as you kind of look at the calendar at the end of the season, the big thing is we are heading into NFL scouting season, NFL Combine. When we look at the NFL Combine, the date of that, just so everyone's aware, is February 27th through March 2nd. So really this next month and a half, rookie content as a whole in Dynasty world, but also for the NFL really starts to ramp up. You also have NFL free agency that starts on March 12th. So you got the Combine, which is going to let us know a lot about how these prospects, especially the running backs, are going to be performing going into the NFL draft. You then have the overall free agency that starts in March. And then you have the draft that happens on April 24th. So that's the exciting part, is we looking at the next 3 months. And there's something every month that's going to help us not only get to evaluate the future rookie class, be able to kind of put more cemented values on those rookie picks, but we're also going to be knowing landing spots of some of these free agents, which is going to be really important for overall values. So just being able to know that Dynasty calendar so we can start to exploit both values on all the positions, but also kind of be able to sort through what should I be expecting in each season is super important. Number 4, and this kind of goes with understanding and exploiting values. I do not want you to be investing for specific parts of your starting lineup. Right now, you should not be worried about setting a lineup. No, none of those decisions are going to be happening until next September. So in this current moment, you do not need to be worried about adding, I need an RB2, I need a flex. We want you just to be adding the most value. Like I said, so essentially for me, what this typically means is don't be buying running backs. Running back position as a whole, and this is maybe my philosophy and a lot of others, has been, hey, don't invest in running backs. Now, if I think in 2025, the pendulum swing we saw last year with Saquon, with Bijan Robinson, and especially with this class coming in with Ashton Genty, Caleb Johnson, Quinshon Judkins, we'll have to see how strong of a running back class it actually is. But I do think it's strong enough and reminds me a lot of like the class of 2017 coming in, or even the 2021 class, which wasn't the best and didn't produce the best. But at the time, it was projected to, really change up the dynasty landscape. I don't want you investing in the running back position with so much turmoil that's about to happen. I think the dumbest thing you can do as a dynasty manager is invest in a running back. Now, like I said, I do think the running backs are getting more and more valuable, but that still doesn't change the fact that they are super risky year to year. And so I just want you to not buy into any running backs, but I do think it is smart that if you can get some super cheap handcuffs, like I said, in trades, if you're trading down and you're able to get a guy like last year, if you were able to stash a guy like a Rico Dowdle, or you were able to trade for some of these back end running backs, even a guy like a J.K. Dobbins, they could absolutely have been league winners for you this last season. And so I don't want you to devalue the running back position completely, but I want you to invest in the running back position very effectively and very cost effectively, because I think that's going to help your overall roster. Now, 4, we need to talk about picks, because right now a lot of people are starting to make trades. And when you're starting to make trades, you're super excited and you're like, let's get into some, investing in some picks. And right now, when you're looking at, there's some startup mocks that have been happening in this space by some of the biggest creators doing them live. And you could kind of see that a lot of people don't really know how to value this class. In past years, you've been able to see, 2024, 2023 hyped up classes. This class to me, and we'll talk about this in a different video, really reminds me a lot of the 2022 class where we had guys like Garrett Wilson, Drake London, which at the time was not a great class because you didn't really in Superflex have any elite level quarterbacks to hold up that class. I think this class, you got Shadur and Cam Ward. We'll have to see where they fall. Potentially Drew Aller, but you got Genty and you got Tet McMillan, Luther Burden, Emeka Ibuka, Trevion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Johnson, kind of all sliding at the top. Tyler Warren. We'll have to kind of break through what those rankings look like. Even if this is a down class, do not be selling off those 2025 picks, because if you've been in the space, and I've been playing Dynasty Fantasy Football since 2017, you will see that once you get towards the rookie draft, it doesn't matter how bad of a class is, everyone gets super hyped about it. You get hyped to see where these studs land in the draft. And then usually most people are drafting on that Monday, the weekend after the NFL draft. And that just continues to push overall value. A lot of people then really rush and overpay. Even if it's some of it might be a little bit of fool's gold, they'll overpay for these rookies because everyone gets super hyped about it. So knowing when to acquire. But right now, if you're trying to buy picks, like I said, I'm not trying to buy 2025 picks because you've kind of missed the overall value there. If we look over on KTC, what you'll see is, and like I said, if we look at these 2025 picks, you're going to see that they have gone progressively up in value, even if this class, like we said, is projecting not to be good. Now, if we start to take a look at 2026 picks and even 2027 picks, what you're going to see is that their value is still relatively low at this point. Now, a lot of people don't want to be patient. A lot of people don't want to wait until 2026, 2027 for these picks. But as we know, 2026 projecting class-wise might not be that much better than 2025. But like we said, that's a lot of time away. We didn't think Cam Ward was going to be a first-round level quarterback when he transferred to Miami, and that's what he's turned into. A lot can change in one college football season. So I'm still investing into 2026 and I'm still investing in 2027 because at this moment, and it's crazy, they are the cheapest that those picks will ever be. And so if you can accumulate a bunch of them onto your roster, especially if you're a team, like we said in point 1, and you're honest with yourself and you're rebuilding, then you're going to be in a really good spot if you can accumulate a lot. Like I'm in a team with one of my best friends in the space, the league FFB, in this Dynasty League. And right now I have a crap load of 2026 picks. And the reason that I did is I went full tank from the beginning, got some stud quarterbacks, but I got to really invest and hit in the 2025 and 2026 drafts. But the way that you do that is by acquiring them super early. Like I said, I was acquiring 2026 picks this season. I'm going to be acquiring 2027 picks coming down the line. Just knowing when to acquire these picks, like I said, being earlier the better, because they will only go up in value. And that's liquid gold that's added to your team that you're going to be able to really exploit, whether in trades or to go get a stud player or to really take a shot in the draft and get one of these studs in your dynasty rookie drafts. Now, number 5, like we said, we want to talk a little bit about trades, and we'll give you guys some videos later this season where we talk through specific players, but being able to go get players that are accumulate value this offseason is what I like to do. That comes down to getting usually a lot of quarterback and wide receiver. Now, tight end, we saw last year a guy like a Brock Bowers. If you acquired a guy like a Trey McBride, probably gained some value. But other than the quarterbacks, the top end quarterbacks and the wide receivers, I usually just kind of like to do some fringe, can I get some wide receiver 3s with upside? When we talk like last year, guys like a Josh Downs, a guys like a Rashee Rice, I know he was sliding somewhere around like wide receiver 34 on KTC with everything that happened with him last season. Even a guy like a Nico Collins wasn't appropriately valued. Just being able to find those pockets of values, take your shots, I think are going to be really important with the trade discussions, but that comes down to also knowing your league mates and knowing their teams. Super important. And number 6, and like I said, I know this video has been me just ranting at the camera, so I appreciate all y'all for tuning in, but make sure you have some tools that can help you properly value your team. Also, properly evaluate the trades you're doing. Now, there's a bunch of great creators in the space that you can definitely tune into their content. Like I said, you're watching this video, so I appreciate that, but definitely be checking out KTC. I know all y'all are already using that if you're in the Dynasty space, but another tool that is getting up there in popularity, but not enough people know about is Dynasty Daddy. Dynasty Daddy will actually rank your team, which is awesome, kind of give you projections, but then you can also search through what other trades that have gone down in Dynasty League. So instead of just saying, hey, on KTC, I can make in the trade calculator, I can actually go see what real life trades are. And you can put the 2 players and see where trades have gone down. If a player you're trying to give up and a player you're trying to acquire, just to get an idea of where values are at so you can kind of exploit your league. So maybe you could get a better deal, or maybe you kind of have to know where you have to shoot in the ballpark to get a deal done. So it's super important, super great that we're in the Dynasty landscape season. Like I said, guys, this is awesome. Appreciate all y'all for tuning into this video. If you like Dynasty Fantasy Football, hit that like and subscribe button. We will be putting out more videos each and every week. My goal is to put out 3 videos a week, talking through trades, talking through stashes, talking through rookies, talking through everything, sleepers. We are going to dive deep, especially with the rookies here in the coming days. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.